A very important project that's on the table now is to bring the water of the Congo River to refill Lake Chad. This is a project that was developed by an Italian company, Bonifica, but has also gained the support of the Chinese government, which of course has the funds to realize this. And it would be a matter of trying to refill Lake Chad to reverse the desertification and to create areas of agriculture in what is now purely dry land. I think the Chinese investment in Africa has been extremely positive. It has changed the nature of life in most of these countries. They've been concentrating on a number of things. They've been concentrating on power plants, creating energy, railroads, bringing the continent together. These are all very positive items. They create the basis for development, because if you have rapid connections between various countries in Africa, you'll have an increase of trade, an increase of communication. It'll also have a cultural influence on people who get to know other parts of the continent that they couldn't get to prior to that. So it has a tremendously beneficial effect. China, of course, cannot do that alone. They have a tremendous amount of resources, but they don't have the means of transforming the entire continent. So that what they have done, though, is pointed the way, that this is the direction that we should go. And it's a direction that has gained support of most of the African countries. People talk about this so-called a debt trap that they're creating. Chinese debt goes to building physical infrastructure. That physical infrastructure will produce results. It's not like the gambling casino that you have in New York and London, where people are betting on bets on bets on bets and spending money on that and having to finance that. That's fictitious capital. That's all a casino society. What the Chinese are doing, and they're very strict about this, is that any money that they give out has got to go to build some form of infrastructure, because if that infrastructure is there, it will start to produce activity in terms of transport, in terms of energy. And so it's not a debt trap. It's really creating the future, and the future would be a developed continent which can easily repay the money that has been spent on making it prosperous. China has this program called the Belt and Road Initiative, which is an economic development program based on creating infrastructure, in particular transportation infrastructure, to bring countries together and to create the basis for building industries, building power plants, and raising the level of the populations in those countries. It's just much bigger than anything anyone could envision, and would mean a different direction in history, especially for the countries in the developing sector. We've been involved in it for well over 45 years in terms of development programs, and we feel now that we have turned a corner, that the fact that China has moved in the direction of financing development in other countries of the world and trying to begin an industrialization process in the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, that the world can now move in a different direction. And so we are talking about that and bringing it up at every occasion, improving U.S.-Russia relations and also U.S.-China relations, because the United States, which is a developed country but is becoming really ever poorer in terms of their population, also needs a certain amount of economic development. And we feel that our government should support the program that China has presented and work together with them for the benefit of the United States, for the benefit of China, and for the benefit of the world. The countries generally are not opposed to it. What the people who are opposed to it are the international financial oligarchy, based primarily in London and New York, but really based in London, which has been the capital of most of the problem. So there's been a resistance on the part of, for instance, the Brussels bureaucracy, the European Union bureaucracy, which is more influenced by the bankers than it is by the individual citizens in any of the countries. They feel that the development of countries especially countries of China in India, big countries like that, will shift the balance of power in the world. And it's true, it will. If a country develops, as it does develop, it should have a greater say in how the world is governed. And if you look at the last 40 years, where the rules have been set by the, I would call it the Anglo-American oligarchy, it has not been very beneficial for most of the people of the world.